week. We're still waiting on parts. I ordered brackets to mount the motor. So in the meantime, I'm working back here. I took the back off the car. Gonna make room for the radiators. These are the stock radiator and air conditioning condenser. It's gonna fit basically like it is there. So from the back of the car it'll have venting. So I need to make a mount. I'm going to utilize these top mounts up here. There's one on both sides. And then the bottom mount. And the bottom mount under the car off of this, I'm going to weld or bolt the bracket that comes down to support the bottom of the radiator, right about the height of my diffuser. And then up here on the back of this bumper, I need to trim out some of this bottom, make room, and then there'll be brackets up here to hold the top of the radiator. That'll mount it nice, and then I'll just have to start plumbing the hoses. We'll get on with that next. Okay, here we are under the car. Where my hand is, this is the passenger side line coming originally from the water pump from the cool side of the radiator. So that went down this hose towards the drive inverter first. It also has a T right here, a Y, and it goes this way around to this diverter valve. So the coolant would come in here, and then this valve selects the motor or the charger. So when the car is charging, this valve runs the coolant up to the charger, and when the car is driving, it runs it down through the motor. So back here, if we look, this is the back of the car. So the motor coolant line is here, going in. The charger coolant line. So then it comes out of the charger to this four-way. Comes out of the motor and comes up to this one into the four-way. So pretty much all the warm water now is coming out of the drive inverter up here. Can't really see up here. Comes down. So we have the drive inverter, the motor, the charger, all going back on this top line, which went up the driver's side of the car, took the coolant from the battery and the hot motor and went into the radiator. So basically, to simplify it, this is going to be the radiator coolant tank. All I need to do is put a T here, and all the warm from this four-way will go into the coolant tank, into the top of the radiator. This one will be coming back from the battery, teeing in. Because this lower line here that comes around right now, the coolant going in to the drive inverter, if I were to just take and push the water pump into this, so if I put a T here and push the water pump into this, it will go to the drive inverter and it will go around to this inverter valve and up to the battery. And it'll come back from the battery in this upper hose. So all I really need to do is tee the water pump from the lower radiator here and tee this into the cap and run this into the top of the radiator. So all my connections actually right here. That'll simplify that a lot. So here's the water pump. This comes out of the bottom of the radiator, and then the pump pushed it, and it went to the battery, and then it went back to the motor, controller, charger. So I can use this Y, come out of the pump into here, and just put this into the hose. And I just need another T. And then up here, I'll just have the coolant tank right there to top it off. Pardon my crude drawings, but this is the original car. We had the coolant tank, the radiator, the fan, out, cool, went through the pump, down to the battery, and back to the diverter valve, straight to the drive inverter, to the motor or the charger. So then the motor, charger, drive inverter all come back to that plus, came up, the battery came up into a Y, back into the coolant. So basically what I'm going to do now, these two pipes under the car are just going to switch direction. I'll have the radiator cool coming out through the pump, and it will push right into a Y to the drive inverter. Just like it did before, came straight into the drive inverter. It will split to the battery, to the motor, come up to the battery, come back down from the battery into the coolant tank, And then for the air conditioning, the factory side came from the high side up to the condenser, split, and goes to expansion valve for the AC in the car, and then to the battery also. And then the low side returns, has a T, and it goes right back to the pump. So what I'm going to do is basically cut this high side line right here and put a flare fitting on it, and take this side of the hose back and the new line back to the air conditioning condenser back here. So we'll basically take the high side into the condenser, and it will come back out and go straight into a T, into the battery, and to the AC's expansion valves. And then the returns will just come back down. I won't even touch that one. Basically just going to break the high side compressor line at the back and run it through the condenser instead of it doing it up front. Should work. Okay, I took the back bumper off. Now we can see right in here, these are the two hoses I'm tying into. Coolant from the lower hose in, and this one will be teed up into the reservoir. So for now, I got the bumper. I need to cut this bottom out to clear the back of the fans. We'll get that cut, and then the radiator, it'll sit kind of right there, just like that. Let's get cutting the bumper. Okay, I took out the condenser and the radiator out of the bracket so I could cut it. I ended up cutting this lower mount off just because it's kind of in the way where the lower suspension is. I filed it off nice and smooth. My idea is to take this old part of the bumper and it'll actually sit, you know, kind of at that angle like that. So I'm going to cut a section out of the middle just wide enough for that. Hopefully I can get some studs down in here to here, some bolts coming through the bottom to bolt on to that bracket. So I'm going to weld a piece onto here that bends and goes up and mount to the rear axle. We'll get on that. I'm going to put some bolts through the back side. Got them Loctited in. And that'll be for the bracket to sit on, and that'll bolt on once it's in the car. This will be welded to a bracket that's bolted to the car. Not too bad. First time welding with my new argon tank. This is the actual cooling radiator out of the Electric Smart. Not much to it, but electric cars run at about 120 degrees. They never really get above 140. So we'll get this all back together. Got the radiator mounted at the bottom. Those little studs come through it, brackets held in. Already test fit the back body. I just got to mount the top because it's just probably put it right in the middle there. Just keep it away from all the metal. We got plenty of clearance back in there. It'll work pretty good. I'll get this water pump. Got to turn this one around, pointing the other way. This will mount probably right up on that beam right there. Got all kinds of room. Okay, I took the water pump bracket, turned it completely around the other way, rotated this hose. Now the water pump is going to sit right up here on that bracket. I'm going to bolt that in. And then this hose goes down to the bottom radiator with an elbow. This hose will go right across into there. And then I'll put this little Y right in this hose. That'll be where the cold water goes in. Straight to the inverter, around to the diverter, and up to the battery. Getting there. Okay, I have the water pump mounted. It's got clearance up there to the motor and the coolant hose. So now we have input, you know, from the lower radiator hose will be about right here. I'm going to get an elbow. And then, so the cool water pumps right in here to the T, straight into the drive inverter. And then this line here goes around all the way back around. And then up here where the four-way is, where we have warm coming from the motor, from the charger, from the drive inverter, all go down here into this T. This is coming back from the battery up front, goes right up into the coolant. And this will come top. I get a hose to go from here to the radiator. That takes care of the original cooling system. Just have to got to bring the wires back, wire up the pump. I'll have to wire up the fans. And then I'm going to bring back wires for my temperature gauge, and I'll bring back wires for the air conditioner high side switch. Yeah, I 3D printed this mount, kind of awkward angles and everything, so it's easier to 3D print it than to machine it. And I gave it these little snap-ins, and that's going to go up here, reach right around that snap-in and bolt to the beam. That'll hold the tank. Okay, that ought to hold that. Okay, looks good. That'll be my coolant reservoir. Okay, there's the lower mounts and the upper mounts. So there's the radiator mounted in the back. Just got to do the air conditioning lines next. And then hook up this elbow. That'll be a real easy shot, little elbow there. And for the upper line, I just need an elbow from there to there. I just received the radiator hoses for the rear. Kind of difficult. Everything I'm doing is custom. Nobody makes the parts, so I'm shopping around trying to find everything. 6 inches, the longest pre-made elbows I can get, and the 30 millimeter. So hopefully what I cut off of this little piece added to here, hopefully that reaches the coolant tank. So we got a lower hose, and hopefully I can splice together and make a longer upper hose. So let's keep going on that. So I had to order a different radiator hose for up under here. Kind of dark, sorry, my light's in the front. But I got a 45 degree coming to tie that in. I got the lower hose all connected. Just got to wire in the fans. I have to run a wire harness to run all these wires to the back of the car. And you ever get one of those days where you just can't find your tape measure? Well, here's a way Handy Dan has to improvise. So there's the front of the car. So you line that up to the wrench. You can improvise. Right there, we're lined up to the back of the car. That ought to be accurate enough. Alright, got it all tidied up. Everything looks a little cleaner. Got a lot of wires removed. These will be some ground wires I can use on the interior where I decide to put a grommet through. And I just gotta wait till I get more wire to finish this off, run it across and down into the car. Got the rear wire harness kind of laid out. Large ones for the fan, temperature, air conditioning switch, and just the water pump has to go. I got all these ground wires tidied up, got that all looking cleaner. This is going to be a ground wire, just come straight off the ground down there, and this will go up to my gas filler neck, just to ground that for safety. There's the wire harness for running to the back of the car. Another order. This is going to be to help support the rear wing. I got to weld some pads onto them, but those would look pretty good. Alright, I got these brackets, but I'm going to make this little piece here to put some like double-sided tape against the glass. I bent it curved to match. Just going to weld those on there centered. So I got this one set up in the vise with magnets. We're going to go ahead and tack weld that on. Fell out of the vise in the middle. While I was waiting on things, I added some support for my wing. Pretty cool. Now it's a lot sturdier. Doesn't wiggle at all.